Hey fellow gamers, Chatty, Sisa here. This is the first part of my July update on the Dragon Age Veilguard game, which is the new game from BioWare that will be coming out this fall. We have seen the gameplay showcase and the trailer first time in the first half of June, and since then there has been a lot of new information which was revealed mainly through exclusive articles by the Game Informer and really very nicely summarized by Shinobi on Twitter, or X as it's now called. And on this spot I would like to highlight this channel from Shinobi. Please check it out on Twitter if you are there and if you are a user. He has really good gaming information, also some non-gaming additional topics that he's discussing. So his channel is something that is definitely worth checking out. I will put the relevant link in the description, just like I will put all the other relevant links in the description below, like the Game Devs Q&A that happened in June, or all the Game Informer articles, so you can find everything below. There was yesterday another vid that was coming out, which was called the Making of Dragon Age the Veilguard, and it's a vid that includes a discussion with 3 project leads from the game from BioWare. Unfortunately, it came out quite late and I was not able anymore to incorporate the information here, but again, I will be linking that vid also in the description below, so you can check it out for yourself. I would like to note here on this spot that what I'm saying here, aside from the details of the information that we've got, I will share some of my thoughts. Those are my personal subjective views, and I am aware that not everybody will be probably agreeing with them, which is fine. I am not here to neither praise nor bash the game. I will try to be, let's say, objective, or as objective as I can. I will definitely highlight what I like and what I found a very positive good news, but I will also not shy away from pointing out stuff that is probably not going to be so great for many other players as well, and is probably also the same sentiment which I have seen shared by other people, especially those who are coming from the, let's say, early days of the Dragon Age fandom. So please take my thoughts and my additional information with a grain of salt. But again, I think that you will find some value in the vid, and hopefully also will be able to share some of your thoughts with me. All right, let's start with the devs Q&A session that we have seen in June. They have provided us some first more detailed information during that session, and then later on that will be enhanced during the Game Informer exclusive articles, so we might find some information there later as well, just a little bit more detailed. But I think the information that is summarized here is the most important bits from that Q&A session. The link is below in case you are interested to view it in its entirety. There is a recorded vid. The first thing that the people were really asking about, because that they were very curious, and I think that was also my first question when I have seen the gameplay and the Varric especially, how old are the people now? So how much time has passed between, for example, Dragon Age Inquisition and the Dragon Age Veilguard game? And as you can see on the screen, it is set about 10 years after the Dragon Age Inquisition and about 8 years after the Trespasser DLC. So we have to keep in mind that the people whom we are going to meet, whether it's Varric or the Inquisitor, are now a decade older. The Inquisitor will be part of the story and can be imported into the game. If I remember correctly, there was an information that we will be able to import the Inquisitor through the character creator screen or character creator options, and that will give us also the option to adjust and tweak the looks, which is, I think, a great feature. I'm not sure how this will work for people who have not played the Dragon Age Inquisition, but we'll probably get more information on that later. The quests are handcrafted, curated, and story-focused. There are no fetch quests. Locations can fundamentally change based on the decisions you make, and that one was something that I really found very curious. It does remind me a lot, for example, on The Witcher 2, where you had to choose at a specific point which path you're going to take, and then you have automatically been locked out of certain locations, and if you have taken the other path, it was vice versa, so you have not seen the other locations as well. And this sounds exactly the same, so it looks to be the same logic, where depending on what we decide to do during the game, we will probably not be able to access everything which the game has to offer. And I think this adds a lot to the replay value of the game. So I'm really curious about that one. I see it from my side actually quite positively, because if you want to get all of the aspects of the story, you'll probably have to replay the game at least more than once. So that one was interesting. The main character's origins are a little bit explained here. Rook's last name in game is defined by their lineage and backstory, and the origins will come up multiple times within the game, and we can adjust, refine the details during the game's dialogues. So my guess is that if you are deciding to, go with an Antivan Crow, you will get a certain backstory which is tied to the Antivan Crows, of course, and then also maybe you will be able to tweak a little bit more like your history, past, what you are going to tell the people, and I think this will have an impact on how they also perceive you. So this is interesting. This will be interesting for me to see how this will evolve. Again, I see this more positive, on the positive side. I'm not sure how it will work in the game. We have the next part on the crafting, customization, and character creator as an update. We did get the info from the game devs that we will be able to improve and customize our gear, but it will be different than the Dragon Age Inquisition. Now the question is, what will be different? Because this can go both ways. It can be both good and bad, honestly. So I'm really looking forward to see more info here about that and see then in the game how this will work. What I find really very positive is the transmog system, and on that one we have more details in the next section of the update. So this one is really very positive. And then the character creator will be very detailed, with big focus on hair, skin tones, full body customization, additional extras, etc., etc. Again, I have more details here in the next part because the game devs have revealed more info here later on. So let's check it out in the next part. Companions and banter. Now, the devs have said that Dragon Age Veilguard has the most banter they've ever done, and that the banter is interruptible and resumable, so we don't miss anything. And I cannot stress enough how this is perceived, at least from my side, in a positive manner, because I did struggle with that a lot in the previous games from BioWare, that some of the companions that were with my character somewhere on the way tried to say something. They started to say something which was very interesting, and I was looking forward to hearing, I don't know, the whole story or everything they got to say. And then, I don't know, something happened in the background and some enemies popped up and they just stopped in the middle of the sentence and absolutely never finished what they were trying to say. So you never got the information from the companion, and the banter was never finished. And I think this was kind of breaking the immersion, at least for me. So yeah, I think this is something really very positive. There are lots of moments where all the companions are interacting with each other, so you should hear them talking as well, which should be fun. We will have a change of companion outfits, an option for changing, and have a wide range of the appearances. That is also something which I see very positively, because I got honestly quite tired with some of the characters, mainly in the longer games from BioWare, which were there for, I don't know, 80 hours, 70, 80 hours, and you have seen them all the time in one and the same thing, and you were not able to change the outfits unless you did mod the game. So this one should be something that should make the game a bit more interesting. They promised us deep companion arcs with heavy decisions to make throughout the game. So, for example, if you anger your companions, they can disappear for a time. I do have a question mark here. Now, will it be really like just for a certain specific time? So, for example, for a certain portion of the game, the character will just, go their own separate way, and you meet them at a later point, and you will be still able to reconnect, and they will be available as a companion? Or will it be something similar like, I don't know, Isabella, who in Dragon Age 2 just disappeared basically forever, and you lost her completely as a companion, which was a pity, because not oftentimes you have foreseen this kind of outcome when you were choosing some answers in the dialogues. So this can be very tricky then also in the communication with your companions. Yeah, there was a specific question then also on the 3-person party size and some info on mages. Now, this one is something that was a negative thing for me. I will be honest. I know that the devs said that they feel like it's a much more intimate experience if you have like one person less in the party and you have only 2 companions. And as they are saying there, it gives them the visibility and focus, more spotlight and balance with Rook's abilities, etc., etc. I do not see it this way. I will be honest, I am disappointed by that, and especially in a Dragon Age game, if it is anything resembling the previous games, the combat at least, then you will be lacking that presence of one additional companion. And again, I will have to go back to a comparison with, for example, Dragon Age 2, where I spent probably the most time on replaying that game. And I think what was here something that I kept remembering every time when I restarted the game was sometimes even the 3 companions that you took with you were not really enough. And I was taking the Mabari whenever I could, basically as an additional companion as well. Why? Because oftentimes you have encountered such huge groups of enemies that you had really trouble to deal with them all with just the party size that you had. Now, if you take away, for example, this additional companion, and then you don't give anything else as a compromise on the other side, and we are just really left with 2 companions, I do not see this positively. I think this will be a problem with bigger groups of enemies. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't like it, and I think it also will help some impact on the banter. I think it was more fun when they were, let's say, 3 people behind your back who were talking to each other. I don't know. For me, this is not a positive point, to be honest. And then regarding the mages, we have the information that the healing spells will return, so that is a good bit. We will have the mage specializations, necromancer, elemental, and combat mage. And regarding the topic of blood magic, Rook has some real good reasons to avoid blood magic. Now, there was something more which they have mentioned later on in the details that were revealed, but in general, I think this is quite consistent with the, let's say, lore, Dragon Age lore, where the blood magic was from the start perceived as something bad, which has really negative consequences. And the main character and also the companions were oftentimes trying to avoid it if they could. So yeah, this is, I think, quite consistent with the lore. Combat tactics and abilities. We have here, and a good information, which I find very interesting, is that we can use the pause button to review information on the enemies. So for example, what weaknesses they have, what resistances they have, and we can also cycle between the targets both in and out of combat. So this one is interesting, and I think this should be a plus point in the game. What I honestly don't really like here is, and I know I will be probably one of the very few who will say that, but I think most people will be enjoying this, is these detonation synergies and combo detonations. Why? This is something for me which is complete Mass Effect. I know it's the same game developer, BioWare, but those are for me two very separate universes. What is a sci-fi universe and one is a complete fantasy kind of medieval style universe, and I really do not like to see them mixed up in terms of, I don't know, these combat abilities and these combo detonations. I love those combo detonations in Mass Effect, don't get me wrong, I was really using them very often and I really like that, but it's not the gameplay style and the, let's say, RPG style, which is something that I would love to see in a fantasy game, not a sci-fi game. So for me, this is a big minus point. I will be saying it right away. I know it will be probably have great effects. The combo detonations will be probably useful to deal with your enemies. But again, I rather wear them down with some other abilities and, one by one instead of, using these combo detonations. Yeah. So I'm not fond of that, to be honest. Companions can revive you if needed. As I understood, it's that if you get knocked out, right? So we have seen this also in the previous games, that you could be knocked out of the combat for a little bit. So in this case, the companions will be able to, let's say, revive you and bring you back into the battle, which is kind of cool. So I like that one. And then we have free abilities at a time for Rook and each of the companions. I will get into more detail here later. And then multiple runes can be acquired to give you buffs and other things that act like abilities, etc. So this sounds very interesting for me. We'll see how this will work in game. And then the last portion which they were discussing were some various topics. We already heard that previously, so we will have like a main hub that will be called the Lighthouse. It will have a unique purpose and function, and it will evolve over time, so that one sounds interesting. There will not be a war table, but a table of some kind for particular reasons, and that one is kind of weird, so it just makes me curious to see what this will be about. I'm looking forward to that one. On the topic of Varric's hair, I think they have discussed it a little bit more in detail than also later, but they mentioned it here during the Q&A session. Varric's hair is now more grey than brown as he's much older, which would make sense because, as I've said, there has been a time sequence that have passed between Dragon Age Inquisition and the Dragon Age Veilguard game that was about 10 years, and then before that, between Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition, again, you had about, I think, some 10 years probably. So Varric would have been about 30 when we have met him in Dragon Age 2, and he will be now 50 plus. 51 or 52. So, of course, logically, yes, he will have some gray hair and he will look a bit older. So that one is something that I can understand. We'll see what will happen later. And there were some small details revealed, like, yeah, we can pet and hug Asan, the baby griffin. If that's important to some people, they will probably be enjoying this. And then tavern music is returning, and the tavern in Minratos will be called the Swan. So these are the most important bits from the Q&A. Let me now go a little bit more into the details from the Game Informer exclusive articles, where we will get some more information on some of the topics. So let's go to the next part. Just a quick self-promo here on this spot. If you like this vid, please don't forget to check out the rest of my channel. I have also some game reviews, playthroughs, and various news updates which you might find interesting. And if you like the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and also the bell icon, and you will be notified every time when I upload a new vid. Thanks a lot already in advance. Well, first we've got some information about the lore and gameplay and a little bit more details on that, where the game devs were expanding on the already provided information. So we heard about the blood magic and why it's not so great to be used, and here they are providing one little detail and information which might be quite interesting. It's saying Rook's blood interacted with the ritual, so now they're tied to the fate. That sounds quite interesting, so I'm wondering what effect this will have on the story and maybe then also on Rook's abilities or how it will be limited. So yeah, let's see. The two beings seen at the end of the gameplay showcase with are elven gods. Solas is now trapped in the fate and the other two gods are free. And I'm wondering where this change came from, because for me it looks like the other two gods, we will be chasing them and we will probably have to fight them at a certain point. And Solas is trapped in the fate, so it doesn't seem to me like he would be, let's say, the villain of the story. I'm not saying he was a bad character before, but yeah, let's just say he was kind of a gray character before, and people were having many theories about the fact that probably he's planning something that would make him the main villain of the next game, and now it looks like he won't be. So yeah, let's see. I think the devs were trying to avoid many spoilers, so this is an interesting information. We will have a central hub, which is the lighthouse. It is in fact in the fate, and it was previously Solas's home base. So yeah, the lighthouse, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. For me, what's the most important bit of these ones is we will have the Alluvians as the fast travel points in this game, which is quite nice. And I'm looking forward to this one. It will work similar as the crossroads in Inquisition. And next one, after the beginning of the game to be recruited, will be Bellara. So we will have the opening events in the Arleton Forest, and then we are going to recruit her. She is specialized in electricity compared to Neve's ice powers. And the next bit we've got on the lore and gameplay details is the info that we will have light and heavy attacks aside from dash, parry and charged moves. We will be able to unlock additional jump attacks in the skill tree. I'm wondering what this will look like. This might be quite interesting actually. The weapon loadouts, we can set up multiple, as I understand, and we can change them mid-combat. Now, this is something where I'm actually a bit neutral on. I think many people will be happy to see something like that, and they will be able to switch that. It is reminding me on Mass Effect Andromeda, where you had not weapon loadouts that you were changing mid-combat, but where you had profiles that were set up in the background somewhere, and you could just switch between those profiles and you could use different skills. Now, I realized I have not used it anyway, even though I have set up something, but in the end I didn't use it, so I'm not sure if this will be very helpful, but I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of players that will be happy about switching that, and it could be something quite positive because it would change the tactics as well. We can bookmark pause combos by dashing and then resume them, and both rogues and warriors can parry, but rogues have a longer time window. There's no mage parry, but they are able to activate magic shields automatically as long as they have enough mana. What I'm thinking about here is why the rogues have a longer time window is probably because, you know, the warriors usually wear heavy armor and have a shield on top of the sword or additionally to their sword. And rogues usually have something lighter that doesn't have that great stats, and they use only swords or daggers. So they might need a little bit longer to parry or get out of harm's way. A warrior will probably be able to take a hit or two. So this makes sense to have it split like this by the classes. And I think it's very similar to what we have seen already in the previous games. And we've got some additional info here on this topic, which are related to the areas that we are going to see. The Arleton forest surroundings starkly contrast to other areas. So probably when you start to play and you get a feeling for the areas and for how the game is looking like, it might be a little bit deceiving because the Arleton Forest in the beginning is just like the start of the game, and then we get to see other areas. And as they are mentioning here, we should get some grim locations and even grimmer story moments. So this should be interesting, what options we will have. The relationship bonds with your companions can be strengthened by helping them on their personal quests and taking them with you on the main quests. All the choices you make while helping them, what you're saying to them and how you do it will impact your relationships. I think that's something that happened already in the previous games as well. The question is, how much will the impact be from those choices and those dialogue options? We had games, BioWare games, where this was very prominent and where it was really affecting a lot the relationships between the characters. And we had games where in the end, technically, no matter which choice you have taken, the results were the same. So I'm wondering how in-depth this impact will actually be. Next up, we have skill tree and combat system. We've got some more information on the warriors and mages here. As you can see, warriors can throw their shield at their opponents and attack with the sword solo. So they will have an additional, let's say, combat style that they can use, where they just try to bring down their enemy with their shield, and then they are not tied to having it with them all the time. They can just use the sword, which I think is quite good. The skills can be upgraded to get a Spartan-style kick ability. That's what I mentioned before. So I am wondering if this is the same as the jump attacks or if this is something different, because then we will have already two different styles of fighting. So this might be interesting. And then mages can put up firewalls with continuous damage. This will be fun, probably. Me, the little pyromaniac, is looking forward to that one. So I'm definitely going to try that one out when the game is out. And then what is also interesting for the mages is they can add 3 stacks of arcane buildup for an arcane bomb. They can charge a heavy attack on their staff and then explode the arcane bomb with the staff. So basically you're building up your own combo or a detonation, which was described before, and you don't need the cooperation of the other companions. If you are a mage, you are basically able to do this bomb on your own. So I think this is a positive feature for the mages. What I like on the next information here is that we can build weapon loadouts and customize gear for Rook, your companions, cross-compare and equipment and gear. The cross-comparison is, I think, a nice feature. It's always good if you can see and compare the equipment. We had this already in the previous games, and in general, I like to see that in any RPG. Nothing's more painful than if you are deciding whether you want to change some weapons or some armor, and you cannot directly compare the stats next to each other on the screen, and you have to review one separately and review the other separately. That's a bit of a pain. So I hope that this will be working exactly the same way, that you can see it on the screen next to each other. And then we have some more information regarding the skill tree. And the skill tree, and you will see it shortly, is basically one huge chunk of all the classes, abilities, passives, and and stat boots and upgrades and trades and whatever. And I have a problem with that in terms of this looks absolutely messy. I understand that they wanted to bring everything to one screen, but I would still have preferred to have it separate, like to review separately my abilities, separately my traits, and separately, skills, and separately whatever else. But to put it all together and to mark it this way, yeah, we had something like similar already in the beginning, where you could see in the previous games some of the abilities that you had some additional like passive bonuses, but they were still like within one separate skill tree, and you had separate skill trees for various skills, and you didn't have it all just thrown together into one. And if you look at the skill tree or the skills now on the screen, this is what I meant. I mean, it's one big, I don't know, circle, whatever, and there's just everything all at once. And yeah, like I said, it looks messy and it's not really well organized, and you don't really see, okay, if you have activated something before and maybe you would like to redistribute your points, if that's possible, where to redistribute them and where to take them away from. And yeah, it's I'm not fond of having everything in just like one tree and on one screen. Yeah, like I said, it looks messy. The passive abilities unlock jump attacks and guarantee critical hit opportunities. Each class has 3 specializations. Some companions have synergy combo attacks which work off each other. You can create double weapon loadouts if you want to switch up mid-combat. That's what we have already heard before. And both Rook as well as each companion have only 3 active skills at a time. Rook has more options to invest skill points. We've seen that on that skill tree. The companions will only have 5 skills in total. And this is, I think, so far for me, the absolutely biggest negative of this game, I will be honest. First of all, if I only can have 3 active skills at a time in combat, I don't care if you give me 20, 50 or 1,000 options where I can invest my skill points into. If I'm not going to actively use them in combat, I don't care. So this is something which I see very negatively. It is for me a downgrade from the previous games. I wasn't really happy about that in Mass Effect Andromeda, and again I have to state here, this just looks again like Mass Effect. People were complaining about this when Mass Effect Andromeda came out, comparing to the previous Mass Effect trilogy. The downgrading to only 3 active skills, many people were complaining about. It had received many negative comments, and obviously the game devs decided, yeah, let's repeat that same mistake again, and let's implement it now in a Dragon Age game, which is absolutely nonsensical for me, sorry. So I have a problem with this only 3 active skills. I do not like that. I don't like the fact that the companions have only 5 skills in total. I mean, yeah, that doesn't sound like RPG for me. That's a different style of game, but definitely not a good old-fashioned RPG, and I'm not fond of that. Now on the screen you have a picture which is showing the combat wheel that we will be seeing in the game. During the gameplay showcase, we didn't see a full wheel because we didn't have enough skills, or Rook didn't have enough skills during the presentation. This is from a later stage in the game, and you can see that every single one of the characters has all 3 abilities active. You are having a opportunity here highlighted for a combo. So this is helpful for those, let's say, who are new to this style of games. I think from my own perspective, limiting your skills to just 3 per person. So you have only 3 skills for 2 companions, 3 skills for Rook. You are lacking 1 companion compared to the previous game, so you already have fewer companions. And this like combat wheel, which is even telling you, hey, you now can click on the combo opportunity, etc., etc. This is like dumbing it down, and I'm not sure I'm fond of that. This is it feels for me completely out of place in a Dragon Age game, to be honest. I'm not saying it's a bad feature per se, but I just don't think it is something that should be used in a Dragon Age game. But again, it's just my own opinion. This one, though, is something that was a terrible downgrade for me when I have seen it. And that's it for the first part of my Dragon Age the Veilguard game update for July. Please don't forget to check out the second part, which will be linked in a vid here. And it will include, for example, an update on the companions or romances and relationships, and also the outlook for the next days and weeks, what we are expecting from the game devs. So don't forget to check that one out. I would like to thank you on this spot for watching. Stay tuned and game on.